Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NTV's weekly chat show, Talking Point. Our guest today is a distinguished personality, a solicitor, a broadcaster, a writer, a cultural activist with a feminist edge that she will explain, and a student of classical and semi-classical music that she says is her hobby. You came to this country, Piya Mayenin, as a 3-month-old baby.
That's right.
Give us an insight into this long journey that made this 3-month-old baby into Piya, the solicitor, the social activist, broadcaster, and a writer.
Thank you, Syed Neaz Ahmed. Well, first of all, I don't think I can think that far back, but yes, of course. I grew up
In London?
in London, and from nursery, my entire education has been in the UK. I went from nursery to primary just in Commercial Road, Henrica Street, Harry Gosling, and then I went on to Mulberry School, Mulberry Girls, for a short
lot
while.
of people have been there.
Yes, but I didn't stay there. I was only there for a couple of years, and then
Right.
I moved on to Westminster because we had moved at that time. What I can say about my childhood is that up to about around the teenage time, I mean, I was not very much aware of differences in society. I mean, we were all same. Children growing up, English, black, white, we did not think about anybody's differences.
Right.
And
You thought the world was like that.
the world was like that, and we didn't think about that we had any different practices or anything like that. And then in secondary school, in secondary school you start to realize that because my parents, my father came here in the 60s. He was an entrepreneur. He had different sorts of business, like at the time you had factories and shops. He had a couple of things like that in Brick Lane. He was came at that time, and he was a very good man, and all he wanted to do was to do the best for us, and make sure that
you had other siblings too.
I had other siblings. They're all older than me, except one brother who's younger than me, and 4 of them who's older. And they too came from Bangladesh. They partially studied over there.
Right.
My eldest 2 brothers studied in college, and then my eldest brother went to university in Bangladesh. But they came here. They after they came here, they helped my father with the businesses and things like that.
You went to school, and then when you decided to go to the college, you wanted to study law?
No, what I was going to say was that that's when I first realized that we had differences in that you had English students, who English girls.
Right.
At that time, they grow up and they're different. They're dating. They're going out and seeing boys, and they're coming back to class and they're talking about that.
Yep.
So that's when you realize, oh, we can't do that. I mean, I wasn't allowed. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe many people are, but I wasn't allowed to do that.
Right.
And we realized, no, we couldn't plan a night out with a boyfriend or things like that. And we knew that we were different there.
Right.
That's the first time. And then the point I wanted to bring in is that, that's when I sort of became more in tune with my own culture.
Right.
And my father I was talking about my father, he was a very musical person. He did his friends were musical.
You'd have musical programs
We
at
had
home.
musical programs at home, and that's when I was exposed to Bengali music. But I didn't listen to it at the time. As a teenager, when I had loads of times, when my friends, English friends had gone out, perhaps with their boyfriends and things like that, we were at home. So, and then I started to listen to music. That's my exposure to Bangla language and culture. Literature and music is from my father. Going back to study, I went on to do, actually I wanted to be a teacher at first, and I started to do B.Ed, and I changed. It was too
You
much.
studied economics, isn't it?
Yeah, I changed in the first year straight away because it was too much for me. I was a very lazy teenager and I couldn't get up early, and the classes started at 9 o'clock. That's very, and that was one of the
That wasn't
reasons.
very early.
Well, I mean, you had to get up much earlier
Yes.
to be there. And I was a teenager who used to sleep a lot. I mean, that's not a very good reason, but there were obviously other underlying reasons. I
Right.
really wanted to study other things to broaden my horizon first before I actually focused on a career. So then I changed to economics, which I thoroughly enjoyed. In particular, I enjoyed studying developing the developing countries' economies. Things like that, which I did a dissertation for, and I got a first-class mark in that.
Great. What was the topic of your dissertation?
It was the effect of the IMF programs at the time. I can't remember.
On developing countries.
I hope you don't ask me. Yeah, at the time, it was in the 1985.
Right.
When IMF had gone into Bangladesh, and
Yes.
the actual overall effect on the economy then. And
But things have changed since then.
since then,
it's-
yeah. So
Right.
I finished my economics degree. I was wondering whether to go on to do the master's and the PhD, and my lecturers were wanting me to do that, but I really wanted to study law as well.
Right.
In fact, within my economics, I took a unit of law, and I felt that I really, really enjoyed it. I'm a very, I would consider myself as a very moral person, and law, and natural law, and justice. Those things really appeal to me, and I've really had a feeling for
When
that.
you say natural law, what do you mean by natural law?
Natural law, I mean, well, what I meant is, I suppose what I meant is that man has made law. We have made laws that you can't do this and you can't do that,
Yes.
and these are what we.
And they're all different in different countries.
Yeah, and they're very much different. If you look at in religions, they're very much different. But there are some laws that are so fundamental to everybody.
Right.
And it's just beyond reason to think. And that applies universally.
Right. Like you need a driving license to drive a car in any country.
Yeah.
You have to have a driving license. You should have passed an exam.
Yeah.
You should be of healthy mind and healthy body, and you should be able to see. You should not be blind. These are the natural laws.
I was more thinking that yes, that's of course you must exactly, but you shouldn't murder.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You shouldn't kill. You shouldn't steal. Those things.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can justify those things.
It's not, you're not quoting Bible, you're quoting natural law.
Common, yeah. It doesn't create a conducive, society, and everyone feels that it's
Yeah,
wrong.
Right.
So that's a natural sort of justice.
You also understand, you also are engaged in some sort of a broadcast, and you have been doing legal help with Piya, and that's
right.
for 5 years you have been doing that, and if to do something like that for 5 years, that means it must be a successful program, successful broadcast. What sort of legal help do you provide there? I mean, what sort of questions do you get? Is it related to immigration? That I often feel is kind of very boring for anybody who just listens, because the same similar questions of immigration, as you see.
That's right. My program I did for 3 years on Channel I did on TV,
Right.
and then for a year and a half I've been doing it on radio, and it's the same program, Legal Help with Piya.
Right.
Now, it was predominantly immigration because
Right.
that is a need in our community.
Right.
There is a huge need for that. It was, I would focus on other areas of law,
Right.
like family law or housing law, but the calls that you would get were 97% immigration. And it is, what I try to do on the show is actually make it more than just rules. You know, it's okay to ask what the rules are, and you can look it up on the website and see what the rules is. But what I try to do through that program is to make people more politically aware and more aware of our immigration history, because that is so fundamental to understanding how to tackle immigration law. Because as you may know, that immigration law is a very different sort of law than any other law, merely because if you have like the criminal law, you know, it's been laid down, set down, and there are precedents from 1967 and things like that.
No,
but
even,
immigration law,
even beyond.
yeah, and it's not changed. There's a court case, and it's 1957, you know, for recklessness, Caldwell case, and that was set then, and that's still a precedent. Whereas immigration law is totally different, because it's more policies and rules.
It's more of discretion.
It's more, well, they can, well, not all the time. I think that's a wrong term, because the Home Secretary does have an element of discretion there. There are rules, they are set rules, but they are subject to change all the time, as you can see, and they've been changing drastically in recent years, and it's become so overly politicized and quite, in my opinion, racist. And therefore, I did talk about the history quite a lot on my program, to make people aware that what the history of immigration really is, so that they know. I wanted people not to, I mean, I'm supposed to be giving legal advice, and I did do that, but I wanted to make people aware that they can also have a say in what happens with immigration policy as well.
Does it mean that this immigration is a continuous process? People are still coming in. I had thought that we are in the fourth generation migrants, and they're not coming anymore.
Right.
But it seems that there are more new persons are coming in, and they have their own personal problems, and they want to sort it out with the help of legal aid.
Well, you have to look at what is immigration. Immigration, we have immigration all over the world. We cannot live without immigration. We wouldn't exist without immigration.
Right. When you say we, means Britain?
Humankind.
Oh.
I mean humankind, mankind. We wouldn't exist. People who started off, you know, people who believe in God, believe in Adam and Eve.
Right.
They started off in one part of the world, but obviously they moved. You know, Muslims believe they were Muslim. You know, Christians believe they were Christian. But say for instance, they were Muslims. We as Muslims believe they were Muslims.
But there are different reasons for
But the Muslims
movements.
are all over the world now.
Yeah, there were different reasons for movement, isn't it? In the earlier Christians, the earlier Muslims, they wanted to spread the word of God, you see. And that is why you see so many Christians in Africa.
But they needed to migrate or immigrate, and that therefore it was necessary. You're absolutely right. There's always been different reasons for moving across the world. And
do you get other questions like on family matters, like violence against women?
Yes, I do. If I just may finish off that point about immigration, who sort of immigrates now or
we'll
migrates now.
have to take a break, so be quick.
Yeah, very quickly. So from, I mean, if we look at UK's immigration from the 50s and the 60s, you know, it started off with Ugandan refugees and Kenyan refugees.
That was the 70s, I think.
That was that the 70s?
Okay, we'll have to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll definitely go into migration and violence against women. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for being with us, and we'll be back soon after this break. Don't go away.